The following contest is an Ironman match. On the way to the ring, please welcome Kelly. And the opponent, from Los Angeles, California, Melina.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another sold-out Raw event from Portland, Oregon.
Well, it's been too long since Raw has come to Portland, JR. These fans are going crazy.
They certainly are, and who can blame them? I guarantee the Rose City's going to get its money's worth tonight. It's an unusual treat to see the bodacious Melina in active competition. She's typically known as the brains behind superstars like Johnny Nitro.
That's a little disrespectful to Nitro, isn't it, JR? Are you saying that he'd be lost without her?
I'll borrow one of your lines, King. All I'm saying is that if brains were dynamite, I don't think Nitro would have enough to blow his nose.
Well, brains or not, he's smart enough to keep Melina by his side, so he can't be all that dumb. This is going beyond just being a match, JR. I think these superstars genuinely hate each other.
There's no love lost between these competitors, that's for sure. If looks could kill, somebody would be pushing up daisies right now.
And you've got to admit, that makes for a much more interesting match, JR.
It sure does. But I just hope these superstars can settle their differences in the ring and leave it at that. That went nowhere.
There's the reversal. After some of the things we've seen in this ring, JR, I think we'd better remind the folks at home not to try this stuff themselves.
That's for damn sure, King. The WWE superstars are trained professionals.
And even they don't walk away from every match in the best shape.
They sure don't. We've seen more than one superstar taken out here on a stretcher.
Did you ever think you'd be watching these superstars compete against each other here tonight, JR?
I had a feeling their paths were going to cross sooner or later, and I'm glad I'm here to see it.
Me too. It almost makes it worth having to sit next to you and listen to those corny expressions of yours. What the heck is a government mule anyway?
It's what you get beat like when you're in the middle of a slobber knocker. And if you don't have the guts to stick around, you might run like a scalded dog with a case of the limber tape.
All right, enough! I'm getting a translator before I have to come out here with you again. You can look at any professional sport you want, JR, and you won't find more incredible athletes than the WWE superstars.
You're not wrong, King. They compete every week until they are physically incapable of continuing. There's no off-season in the WWE.
We're not talking about running a ball down a field or slapping a puck into a net. This is serious physical competition.
It sure is. The toughest athletes in the world are on the WWE roster, and that's a fact.
So, how do you think this is going to turn out, JR?
Honestly, King, I have absolute this capacity crowd is solidly behind their superstar. Look at this.
Wow, could you be any more biased, JR? How about some fair and balanced commentary? Oh no, this is terrible. You can't let your opponent build this kind of momentum.
Well, all I can say is someone's been eating their vitamins and saying their prayer. And there's the cover. 1, 2.
You talk about ruthless aggression. Look at the way these superstars have been going after each other.
They're not playing with kid gloves, that's for sure.
We knew we were going to see a heck of a match, but this might turn out to be... No. Go ahead and say it, JR.
All right, I will. I think this one's got all the makings of a bona fide slobber knocker. Oh, man, I think we're about to see a high-risk move here. A textbook reversal there. Excellent counter. What ring presence. These superstars are going to put each other through wrestling hell tonight.
They've already got a pretty good start on that, JR.
They have indeed, King. I don't think there's an ounce of quit between them.
Yeah, and that's where things get dangerous. If you're too proud to admit that it's not your night, you might wind up risking your... Oh, boy. These top rope moves can go either way.
Oh, boy. The adrenaline is pumping. I think this could be the beginning of the end.
No, it can't end like this. Come on, do something, quick!
Look at this. Look at this. You talk about a house of fire, you're seeing it right here.
Yeah? Well, somebody better put out that fire, or this one's not going to end well. I think these superstars have a legitimate beef with each other, JR.
So do I, King. I'm not so sure their issues with each other are going to be solved with one man.
I hope not. I'd love to see them go at it again and again. Here's the pin. Could this be it?
1, 2, 3. Boy, howdy. This Kelly is something else, isn't she?
She sure is. She's almost enough to make me say something nice about ECW. Almost.
You've got to be in 7th heaven, Kingfish. It's not often we get to see Melina in action like this.
You know it, JR. I could never get enough of Melina, but I'd sure like to try. I think these superstars are getting some feedback from the crowd, JR.
Nothing wrong with that, King. That's what we like to hear. This match is going to continue until someone's completely debilitated. And considering the resiliency of these superstars, that's not going to be easy.
That's for sure. No one in this match is going down without a fight.
And I wouldn't expect any less from them, King. Like them or not, you've got to respect the tenacity of each and every WWE superstar. What an incredible performance by these phenomenal superstars.
Did you expect anything less, JR? I mean, look who's in the ring right now.
No, I didn't, King. I had high expectations, and I'm happy to say that this match has exceeded them all.
I wonder if Kelly's doing anything after this match.
Come on. You're old enough to be hurt.
Her older brother, I know.
I think this crowd has decided to exercise the right of free speech.
God bless the First Amendment, JR. I know a woman like Melina's nothing but trouble, JR, but I think she might just be the trouble I've been looking for.
My God, what a brutal assault. And yet, I have to admit, the strategy is sound.
It's not the fanciest move, JR, but driving your opponent's head into an exposed turnbuckle like that sure does take the fight out of him. Yes, that was an incredible move. What strategy?
Strategy, my Oklahoma ass. That's cheating, plain and simple.
Here's the cover, JR.
1, 2. I tell you, King, sometimes I get exhausted just watching these superstars compete.
I know what you mean, JR. I don't think most people are...
That's a short climb, but a potentially long fall. I'll be honest with you, King. This is not the way I thought this match would go at all.
Me neither, JR. I guess that just goes to show that anything can happen in the WWE.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, King. And it's that unpredictability that makes it so exciting.
Can you believe we actually get paid to do this job, JR?
It's like a dream come true, King. Except when I have to sit here and listen to you drool over the divas.
Come on, JR. You know I'm helpless when it comes to puppies.
Oh, I know, King. And that's why I'm bringing a pitcher of ice water out here with me next time. You've got to ask yourself, how much punishment will these superstars be able to withstand tonight?
I don't know, JR, but I think they're pretty intent on finding out.
They certainly are. I don't know how it's going to end, but I can guarantee you they're going to leave it all in the ring.
I don't think that these superstars have even contemplated the fact that they might lose.
I'm sure they haven't. That's not the kind of attitude you come in with and expect to pick up the win.
You're right about that, JR. If you can't see yourself having your arm raised by the referee when it's over, don't bother showing up. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, JR. I can't believe I actually get paid to do this job.
Well, don't let Mr. McMahon hear you say that, King, or you might wind up having to do it for free.
That's true. I don't want to say that Mr. McMahon's cheap, JR, but I heard he won't even tip a canoe.
Kelly certainly is a beautiful young woman. But I'm sure you wouldn't have anything to do with a ECW vixen now, would you?
Well, hold on there. Kelly's a young woman, and she's bound to make a mistake or two.
Gee, let me guess. You're hoping to be her next one.
Boy, Melina's one of those divas you just can't take your eyes off of, JR.
You certainly can't, especially if you're the referee. You know it's only a matter of time before this Jezebel tries to take advantage in this matchup.
You say that like it's a bad thing, JR. Flat on your back with your shoulders on the mat is no place to be. I think it's pretty obvious which way this one's gonna go, JR.
Well, from my perspective, this is still anybody's match.
I'd like to see things from your perspective, JR, but I'd have to get my head out of my rear end first.
And Lord knows it's been up there for so long that that would be no easy feat. This is Raw action at its finest. That's why Raw is the #1 brand of sports entertainment.
You got that right, JR. You're not going to see this kind of action on SmackDown.
Not on SmackDown or anywhere else. There's nothing else out there that can come close to the excitement of seeing the Raw superstars perform live. I've got a feeling that this has all the makings of an instant. And now a pin! This could be it! 2. I'll tell you what, King, the WWE superstars are about the greatest athletes you'll find.
Oh, no. I think she's going in for the kill.
And there was no way her opponent could get away from that face buster. Oh, my. Kelly is showing us something here tonight.
I wish she'd show a little bit more. She's an exhibitionist, you know.
How could I forget? That's all you were talking about before this match started.
Well, I can't help it. I'm passionate about the things... Oh, boy. Here she goes.
Oh, my. She just slapped the out of her opponent's mouth.
Wow. Listen to these fans, JR.
You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all the people some of the time, but there's no fooling the WWE fans at all. Melina's such an amazing young talent, and what a rack. What a great addition she would be to the Women's Championship picture.
I can't imagine there are many things you could add Melina to that wouldn't make them better, JR. I can think of one or two right off the top of my head.
Yeah, and if I know you, King, you better keep them to yourself. This is a family program, you know.
The intensity of these superstars is unbelievable.
No doubt about that, King. The fans are getting their money's worth here tonight.
You think these fans have gotten their money's worth tonight, JR?
If they haven't yet, I'm sure they're going to by the end of this match.
Well, I don't say this too often, but I completely agree with you. I don't think these superstars have any intention of taking it easy on each other tonight.
That's not what they signed up for, King. And quite frankly, I think these fans would be disappointed if they didn't go all out.
Well, that's easy for the fans to say. They've never set foot inside that ring.
No, but they spend their hard-earned dollars to watch what goes on inside it. And without them, we'd all be out of the job.
I might have a few years on Kelly, but fortunately for her, I don't have a problem dating younger women.
I should hope not. At your age, I'd imagine that's most of them.
If any superstar shows the slightest hint of weakness, they've lost the match.
That's for sure. No matter how beat up you are, you can't ever let your opponent know the extent of your injuries.
And that's easier said than done, JR. The human body can only absorb so much punishment.
I tell you, King, I've got no earthly idea how these superstars can maintain this intensity week after week after week.
It's not easy, JR. There's no off-season. It's not like you've got 6 months to recover after WrestleMania.
That's for damn sure. And that's why I don't think there can be any doubt in anyone's mind that the superstars of the WWE are the greatest athletes in the world.
I wonder how long these superstars will be able to keep this up.
They'll go as long as they need to, King. And if they can't, they won't be having their arms raised after the match. That's for damn sure.
I think we're going to find out just how much punishment the human body can withstand here tonight.
I think you're right, King. These superstars seem intent on taking each other to the limit.
I love that attitude, JR. Go big or go home.
Well, these superstars sure aren't going home until this match is settled once and for all.
Man, is there even going to be anything left of these superstars by the time they're done?
Not, and here's the pin. 1, 2. I'm sure these competitors have studied each other very carefully.
This match would be over by now if they hadn't, JR. You never get into the ring without doing your homework.
That would be a recipe. I don't believe it. We might see a superstar get beat with their own finishing move here. These superstars are in terrific.
Looks like someone's heading for the high rent district. I'd hate to be that referee, JR. Can you imagine having to tell one of these superstars no?
Boy, I think I've had nightmares about trying to do something like that, King.
I think I see where this one's going, JR. I don't think we're very far from the end of the match.
I disagree entirely, King. I'd bet my Oklahoma Sooner ass that this one isn't even close to being over.
That's a pretty big bet, JR. Are you sure you're able to cover it? These superstars are going to tear each other apart. I don't think this superstar is going to be having any kids in the immediate future, JR.
I wouldn't think so, King. Not without a medical miracle.
These superstars are at the top of their game, JR. They make it look so easy.
They sure do. You almost forget about the years of training and sacrifice that went into their careers. Sounds like this crowd's got something on their minds, King.
Who cares about them, JR? Look what's going on in the ring.
There's no room for error when you're on the top rope. I'm not so sure this one's about winning or losing anymore. I think it's become more personal than that.
Of course it's personal, JR. Anytime you step into the ring with someone who wants to beat you down in order to win the match, it's personal.
I guess I can't argue with that, King. I just wonder if they'll be able to settle their differences in this match, or if it's going to... These top rope moves are always difference makers, for better or worse.
You got to respect the commitment and the dedication of these superstars to their careers.
No question about it, King. Every superstar on the roster has had to make more sacrifices than any other professional athlete I know.
It really is like being married to your career. There's not much room for anything else.
And marriage is a subject which you happen to be...
Here's your winner, Melina